I'm a minute late. I'm sorry. Right, monkey butt? Oh, yeah, that's the stuff, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, oh, she's not quite on frame. There we go. And now she can give me the side eye in full glory. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday. Sorry to do a show last night. I was tired. I just didn't have the energy to do it. But I'm here now. So that is all that matters, right? Is that I'm here with you now to show it up. I mean, GameStop's well over 150. So much for my theory that they're going to try to hammer it down after the distribute or after the date of record. Seems to be flying just fine right now. I'm okay with that. It makes everything else go. So we've got the distribution happening after hours on Thursday. We have just nothing but terrible news coming out of the economy. We talk about this every show, that like housing sales are down 30%, housing starts are down 20%. You know, Sri Lanka, Belarus, Russia, Lebanon, China, like no one could pay their bonds. Inflation all times highs. The bond market's at the worst condition it's ever had since at least the 1780s. You know, the euro is now below the U.S. dollar, which is going to make, you know, European vacations cheaper for us. You know, manufacturing and production is way down. Looking at food crises, mortgage-backed securities are tanking. I just read, I forget who said it to me, but I just read that a majority of Canada's and Australia's home loans are adjustable rate. Like 60% of their home loans are adjustable rate, which tells me that those two places are in for quite a crash. Because when those 2 year rates reset, they're going to be so high. Holy smokes. Everyone's going to lose those houses. But, you know, the SPY, trying to get to 400 again. The only reason I can think of is that the BTC is up, and there's terrible news from all the different crypto brokerages. You've got Coinbase might be going under. The 3AC guys, the Celsius guys, Binance might be toast. I haven't heard any big talk out of Crypto.com, which seems like the jankiest of all of them, but whatever. But still, Bitcoin's back up over 21. They got to be setting it up to crash it, to dump on us. They're like pumping it, and they're going to dump it on us. And try to do the best they can while they can. We're probably seeing like a bigger dead cat bounce and then and fly down. The Bo Luke. Oh man, I'm sorry. See if you can refinance this sucker. But maybe not, because interest rates right now are garbage anyway. Oof. Well, I'll ponder on that one of these. Okay. Turn you off. You're off. All right. Let's. That's all I had to add at the top of the show. So I might as well just jump into what you guys are talking about. Ooh. Lost Waves come to Chicago. Watch Metallica Lollapalooza. When is that? I do have to go visit my buddy Andy at some point. The thing is, I can't go anywhere for more than a day because this big dog. Okay. Dog Toggler, happy birthday, Mr. Francis. I'm not Mr. Francis. I'm sure you've seen by now that you cannot sell your shares after date of record and still expect divvy. That's what everyone keeps sending me over and over and over again, so that's probably out. But, you know, let's say after hours, I still get my shares, and then I sell. What then? Huh? On 21st? I don't know. I'll leave that, you know, got till then to see what the heck's going on. Holly V. Speculation. Paramount Netflix may purchase AMC Lion Trader. Oh, from Lion Trader. Holly V. I mean, I assume there'd be a bidding war because AMC is the largest theater chain, and that, you know, if you are a studio who's now allowed to get back into theaters again, you're gonna want it, right? So it's gonna be the most desirable. Thing is that Netflix doesn't have any money. Netflix is flat broke. Boston Consulting destroyed those guys. One of the things, when I was at Banff, I went to this thing. It was like the CBC breakfast or whatever, and they were talking about the market for shows, and they put up this graph that was like over time showing like the number of shows greenlit as time went on, and Netflix was like 6,000 shows were greenlit since 2015, and the next highest was, you know, HBO with like 40. It was ridiculous. Like this bar graph for Netflix was like, ah, and everyone else was way back here. And Netflix is broke. They were at Banff and they were not buying anything. They're basically like, well, we're here because we paid for the booth. That's it. That's all you're getting out of us this year. So, I don't know how much money they have. Netflix may get bought by somebody. JL 2021 Houston, happy Tuesday. Do you think there's any deeper spiritual significance to dreaming or just a biological byproduct? Oh, no, I don't know if it's spiritual, but dreaming oftentimes is your subconscious going through stuff. Have you ever like studied hypnosis or dream study, things like that? Basically, you get information all day long from all sorts of different sources. And a lot of it you may not necessarily be aware of. Or you may read things that don't quite make sense to you. Or, you know, if you've had this experience like I did in college, you get a homework assignment for like your physics class. And it might be just one problem you have to solve. And you can spend a week on it just racking your brain trying to figure out, add an equation here, do something to solve this thing. And then a week goes by and you turn in this piece of paper and you know it's wrong. It's not even close, but it's like all you had. And then that night you go to bed and you go, at 4 o'clock in the morning, go, bing, I just solved it. Son of a bitch. Because your subconscious has been working through that thing the entire time. And while your subconscious does work, it does not let your conscious mind necessarily know what the solution is until it's figured it out. And all of a sudden it rises to your consciousness like just like a, I don't know, a bubble floating up from the depths. And all of a sudden you're aware of it. Oftentimes your dreams, well, many of them can be nonsensical or absolutely just crazy town or whatever. It is usually a manifestation of whatever your subconscious happens to be working on. So if you're a really anxious person, you're probably gonna have really anxious dreams. If you're a much more confident person, you might have more confident dreams. It's really just that's the manifestation. I don't really buy into like, I don't know, spiritual foreshadowing and things like that. Although your subconscious can make predictions, and oftentimes those predictions are fairly decent, educated guesses. And I would, you know, trust subconscious. Subconscious is like way smarter than the rest of you. Like your conscious mind does things. Your subconscious mind is like, that's where all the smarts are, and it doesn't let you know what's going on until it has a full grasp of the situation. Buckminster Fuller, he described thoughts in sort of like a, what do you call it? Oh crap! What's the name of it? Isosceles? No. Octagonal. An octagon. So, all right. Let's see if we can. Got to go to there. Got to go to right there. Go to there. Turn off that. Turn off that. There we go. Okay. So, he sort of described everything as this little octahedron. Is that what I'm looking for? Octagonal. Ah, crap. I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, these crazy triangles. And brush, size, big. And this is sort of, he built a lot of his structures out of these things. They were sort of, They're one of the strongest structures you can make. These little triangles. And so if you go to like a concert hall or a stadium or whatever, oftentimes the trusses that are built are collections of these little triangles. And they're really strong structure. And Buckminster Fuller invented them when he was like 3 years old, which is crazy. But anyway, his view of the subconscious was like a fully formed thought is made up of these basic parts. So you can have like your 4 sides to this triangle, and your conscious mind wouldn't necessarily be made aware until your subconscious has put together all the pieces of it, and then whoop, sends it up to your conscious mind, and there you go. But oftentimes, if you got these like uncompleted shapes that aren't quite there yet, those are what are bouncing around in your brain while you're sleeping, and those are sort of like, you know, your cat from your childhood's got a lizard tail and speaks like your mom's voice. That's these things. So until you have a fully formed thought that, you know, makes this sucker what it should be, you're going to keep having the weird dreams about it because you don't understand it, or there's fear or anxiety or, you know, some trepidation or something in there that doesn't quite let you have the fully formed idea yet. So it's just going to be weirdness over and over and over again, which is why, you know, you could do like Freudian, Jungian dream theory stuff, and you can try to flush out like, what does this mean? You know, why are you dreaming about water? What's the water signify? And try to get your conscious mind to recognize what your subconscious is trying to work on. And I'm probably explaining this really poorly, but no, I don't think it's spiritual. Let's just get there. That's what I meant to say. I just think it's your subconscious mind just working on shit, and when it's done working on shit, I'll let you know. Sometimes it finishes, sometimes it never does. Meow meow. How to astral travel. Lie in bed, go to the bathroom, remember every step at night, replay that over and over and over mentally until you're ghosty. It's the first rule of dreaming. When presented with a toilet, do not use it. Don't. Do not use it at all. That's the first rule of dreaming. Okay. Mario Valdez, Houston. I've lived in Mexico and I visited the Valley of Fires in Carrizozo a few times. It's a pretty neat place. New Mexico has a lot of cool places. Anyway, take care. Keep doing what you do. New Mexico has a lot of really cool places. White Sands, awesome. Shiprock, awesome. You get up into Taos, beautiful. Even the anthropological sites, like you go to some of the what's the what are the name of those things, monkey? Pueblos. That's what I'm looking for. Pueblos, like near Pecos and stuff. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places. And one of the coolest art galleries I went to was in Santa Fe. Just bitchin' art. Go visit Mexico. Go see things. It's not all Walter White out there. Richard White, Houston, and all. Hope life is good. Some chatter happening right now that GME to do an NFT divvy would mean people having to activate a wallet costing a small gas fee. They can now pay that gas fee with your NFT in it. Would it make sense? The marketplace is doing well enough, and the gas fees, because LRC are very cheap. Yep, the layer 2 makes it worth pennies to do the gas fees, so that's nothing. I'd be interested to see if they do an NFT divvy. Like, if every quarter they announce a new weird dividend and just keep firing those things out there, keeping the name up there, keeping them in the news, then FOMO will just keep happening. So, I'm all for it. Supreme Pigroach, thoughts on new DTCC? There's a new DTCC. I don't know, Spray Supreme Pig Roach. DTCC. What's happening in the news with them? DTC comments on Senate confirmation of Michael Barr. DC report hub expand more to 70 firms. I don't see anything in there about new DTCC. If you got something, DM it to me. Fudge your teats off. Big question on my mind is, what do you think the likelihood of shorts obligations on the dividend being swept under the table, ignored, are this continuing for another unforeseeable amount of time? I don't think that they can do that for much longer. I mean, right now, if you know, we're at this 150 plus range, we're looking at almost $40 a share when it readjusts on Friday. And if we're at almost $40 a share and readjusts on Friday, we can easily bump up to $100 a share, which is the equivalent of $400 a share. The hedge funds can't survive that. No one can survive that. That puts us at, you know, a $30 billion market cap. And that $30 billion market cap, you know, once we get there, we're FOMOing because, it's up over 100%. Everyone go, oh my God. And then the price could be $150 a share. If it's $150 a share, they're looking at $600 a share, equivalent to now, and that is margin call central. And I don't think that the shorts can outlast that, because we still have the defaults that they're going to have based upon this share dividend come and due in 3 months' time, and I just don't think they can survive. And yeah, the SPY right now is high, but the SPY is artificially high. The SPY is like in a little bubble that's going to pop any second and collapse again. And so then they're going to be facing assets under management that are just crashing hard with a GameStop stock that's flying high. It's going to be. I think we're getting this like perfect storm finally. Face Monkey, win Problemo coin. Oh yeah. I need to get Problemo coin on the layer 2. It wasn't letting me put it on layer 2, but let me see if I can get it in there now with the GameStop thing. And then we'll Problemo coin. Okay. Meow meow. Why do the highways of Washington State develop digits that railroad your car into them? I noticed them in the western area of the state. What? Why do the highways of Washington State develop digits that railroad your car into them? Digits that railroad your car into them. Meow meow, I have no idea what we're talking about, but my guess is your fish wears a mattress. I don't know. Digits that railroad your car into them. My brain, this is what I'm going to dream about tonight because I have no idea. Oh, divots. Divots that. Okay, divots. Like you're talking about like the braille on the side of the road. It goes brrr, brrr, or giant potholes, because we got plenty of those. But we're talking about the grooves in the highway. Ah, that's worn down. So I think I know what you're talking about. Like the grooves get cut in the highway by the tires. So that is like 40-year-old concrete that has not been repaved, and it's literally like worn down like the Grand Canyon. So I-5 has them real bad. So road ruts. Here's, I have a picture of one from Poland on here. Go like that. Click on here. Go like that. Done. Bam. So here's a really bad one from Poland. This is literally like water running over rock. It just wears it down over time. And so these ruts, and there's ones not quite this bad, but they're pretty bad on I-5. especially through downtown Seattle. Like you try to change lanes, it feels like it won't let you because you're stuck in rails. They are brutal. But yeah, that is just neglect of maintenance because there's no money. That is the fall of society right there. Okay. Yogi 2012, ask your brother if you could talk about the next bridge hydrocarbon S1. Since he didn't respond, I'm taking his silence as a yes. I'll talk about it in a way that basically they filed paperwork to turn your MMTLP shares into NextBridge. And it's going to be a privately held company, meaning it's not going to be a publicly traded stock. And so either you have to sell it before it turns for pennies, or you hold on to it and hope for dividends and or they sell the holdings. My guess is they'll sell the holdings. They announced, it's got 3.5 million barrels, 3.5 billion barrels of oil, and then they announced in the S1 that they found more in unexpected places. So I think the goal is to sell that oil. The problem is the oil prices are crashing and we're heading into a recession, which means oil prices are going to be really depressed. So the time to have sold would have been like February. And now I don't know if people are going to be looking at buying new oil fields at the moment. So where that leaves us, I don't know. But, I mean, you can get dividends. Dividends for a private company are usually higher than publicly traded companies. So, there's Bird, what's his name? Berta, he was saying that people should register those shares, but it's really expensive to register penny stock shares. And your share's worth $1.30. It's going to cost you like $25 to register it. I just keep mine in Fidelity and hope for the best. Corey Jones, what's up? What up, Houston? Happy birthday. Have you seen the new ad for Planned Parenthood? I was reminded about how they helped me out and they provided more than just abortions for people. I have not seen the ad. No. But, it's... I'll look for it if I see it. But yeah, they do more than just that stuff. I mean, they help with contraceptives, with pap smears, with birth control, with, regular OBGYN things. Yeah. He used to run weed through there. Don sees your shadium. What's the orange thing in the background? Orange thing in the background. Are you talking about King Felix crown? That thing? Or that's kind of yellow. What other orange things we have back there? Got books. We got... Is that it? That's King Felix crown. From when Felix Hernandez was the Mariners ace. The most... Man, the Mariners sucked so bad. Felix was so good. And he just couldn't win any games because he'd only ever get like one run of support every game. It was brutal. He should have had 250 wins by the time he left the Mariners. And multiple Cy Young awards. But the Mariners just sucked so bad that he couldn't even get any wins because no one could ever score runs. In Monial, do you know any other scientists that you could listen to complicitly enchanted? Somebody like Richard Feynman? Oh, man. Feynman was basically the greatest physics teacher of all time. He didn't start out that way. He was a pretty terrible physics teacher and had to learn how to teach and explain things to people. His biography... sorry, big dog, I don't want to smash you. This one by James Gleek is really good. I highly recommend it. This one here is Life and Science, Richard Feynman. This is a really good read, and it shows you like his thought process when it came to mathematics, when it came to looking at physical realities. And he didn't really publish that much, so like he would like figure something out, and be like, oh cool, and move on to the next thing, kind of Nikola Tesla style. And one of the stories in here is about Chandrasekhar when he publishes his paper on like how black holes form. Basically, there's a thing called the Chandrasekhar limit, which is when a white dwarf, which is the core of a dead star, gets to 1.4 times the mass of our own sun. So if that packed-in degenerate core gets too big, it overcomes the ability of electrons to keep electrons from passing through each other. So like the reason why your hand doesn't go through a table when you clap, your hands don't like pass through each other, is because the electrons in your hand meet, and the repulsive fields of those two negative charges won't allow your hands to like pass through each other. Why you don't like when you drive through a speed bump, you don't just go right through the speed bump. And when you get to 1.4 solar masses, the gravitational energy is so great that it overcomes that distance. It's like taking two magnets with similar poles and getting them to touch each other. You can pass right through. And so that became known as the Chandrasekhar limit. And Chandrasekhar is at Caltech, and he's given this talk about, this whole limit. And Feynman's like, oh yeah, dude, I solved that like 25 years ago. And they're like, what? And he runs out of the room, comes back with all these like notes from his desk drawer. He's like, yeah, here you go. And Chandrasekhar's like, what the hell? Why didn't you publish? He's like, meh. But anyway, great book. Read this, learn a lot about physics and the weirdness that was Richard Feynman. I highly recommend it. But who else can I listen to? Man, I think what pops into my head is my favorite professor I ever had, Dr. Jim Juvick. And Jim Juvick was my head of the geography department at Hilo, and he was a genius all his own and really down to earth. He went to Harvard when he was like 14 and had his PhD by the time he was like 20. When he was a little kid, he was basically like the foremost expert on reptiles, like in America, when he was just a little kid, to the point that he grew up on this farm, this apple orchard up near Sacramento, and when some weird snake or lizard would come off like a banana shipment in Los Angeles Harbor, they would helicopter him from Sacramento down to Los Angeles to like capture and identify whatever creature it was. And he's like 10, right? He's brilliant and so funny and such a great teacher, and rather prolific. Kind of the opposite of Glick, in that he would teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Friday through Monday would fly somewhere in the world and do a research project. He might go to Madagascar, or the Solomon Islands, or to Mozambique, or wherever, like do some research project, get all this data, fly back, teach his Tuesday, Thursday classes, fly back out again, and he would do this constantly to the point where he basically had to take a year off. I think my last year in school, he took a year off because he had like 50 papers he had to write for all this grant money he had gotten. And he's the one that did my Atlas of Hawaii. This guy. He wrote this, or wrote most of it, which is just a really cool atlas about basically everything culturally, biologically, map-wise, geologically. It is just a cool book. Really cool book. And if you ever live in Hawaii, pick up a new version of this because it's fantastic. But anyway, he was the best. He and his wife did it. So Sonia became the head of my department the year that her husband had to take off to write all the papers. Yeah, someone's saying Sagan. Yeah, Carl Sagan was one of them. People that could take really, really complicated ideas and explain them in a way that a 7-year-old can go, oh yeah, I get it. They're the best. They end up tickling your brain more than anybody else. And that's who you want as a professor. You don't want the guy who doesn't really understand it that well, and he's teaching his class using his own grad school notes, going word for word through it. Like, you're not going to learn anything from that dude. You need somebody who can explain it 5 different ways using Lots of analogies that are tangential to your own life and apply elsewhere. Those are the folks that you want teaching you. They do really well. But I'll have to think about others that right now nothing's really coming to mind. I'm searching my room to see if there's names popping out. But anyway, in my own teaching, Jim Juvic was the man. I had a music teacher also at community college. What was his name? Crap. I don't think his name, but he was really good. He explained music in ways that I'd never thought about before, in like mathematical patterns. Oh crap. I'm not remembering his name. I took like 3 classes from him. Crud. 20 years is a long time, man. Anyway, moving on. Where are we? King Bima, what's your personal beef with Elon Musk? Just curious. Elon's a charlatan. He's a flim-flam man. That's my beef with him. Is that he's a liar who promises things, either doesn't deliver or under-delivers, and he makes his entire fortune off of government contracts, tax subsidies, and bailouts. And then he hates the government. Like, his entire business is the government. Don't be a hypocrite. And, he doesn't necessarily invent things, but wants to be credited as the inventor, kind of Edison style. But he named his company Tesla. That's not even his company. He didn't found Tesla. He bought Tesla, and then he forced the founders of the company to sign an NDA saying they won't claim that they're the ones who founded the company, and they'll give Elon credit. So there's a big ass plane flying very low over me right now. And he's just a liar. His tube system, his boring company, the entire idea was to have these vacuum chamber tubes that would fire a trainload of people from one city to another at 4,000 miles an hour. And it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna make these hyperloop tunnels. And they're gonna go from Washington D.C. to Los Angeles in 40 minutes. And everyone's like, holy shit, that's awesome. And what it became was a mile-long tunnel that you can drive your Tesla through. That's 1 lane wide. Woo! Awesome. That's really cool. Or, I'm going to build respirators for all these people that are dying in the hospitals. Then he just makes CPAP machines. Or I'm going to release, my new car. It's going to be out next year. And then 4 years later, it still isn't out. Or I'm going to make these robot brain things. And then discover that they basically just mutilated and tortured monkeys for 5 years. And can't get approval for human testing because of how horrible it went testing on monkeys. Or he's going to release some sort of, humanoid cybernetic organism. And it's going to revolutionize things. And people keep taking pictures of mannequins saying, oh, this is the Tesla robot. He's not going to release any of those things. He's just not. He's just a liar. And the only reason he's successful in any way, shape, or form is because he was born to one of the wealthiest people in Africa. His dad had the largest engineering firm in the entire continent. He grew up in the largest home in Pretoria. He went to a really fancy private boys' school. His mom's a supermodel. He likes to pretend that he was some sort of, he was of the people and had to work really hard to survive. And you read his first wife's work, and she talks about how she dated him because he was a rich kid. He drove nice cars and had a nice apartment, and no one else at college had things like that. So no, he's just a liar. And basically, if he tells you something, there's a 50% chance when it does happen, it's going to be far from what he initially envisioned with a sci-fi brain. Plus, Mars is stupid. Mars is the dumbest goal in all of space. I totally understand the let's go to Mars because we can type mode of exploration to push the limits of technology. But to claim you're going to go colonize Mars, no, you're not going to go colonize Mars. Mars, at this point, is uncolonizable. because it is a poison planet with no resources. So everything you need to survive on Mars must come in a steady stream from Earth. You cannot have a self-sustaining colony there because you can't use the soil. You can't terraform the planet, and there's no resources. You can't like find seams of metal to use on that planet because it's all basalt and there are no seams. There's no fracture zones. There's no concentration of different metals. It is just a crappy planet that's going to kill everyone who goes there, who tries to live for any period of time. And we need to be focusing on the moon and asteroids so that we can clean up our atmosphere and stop destroying the Earth with large mines. That's it. Like, you want to save the planet, get our resources from outer space. And where are those resources? 3 days away on the moon, and maybe a day and a half away to a near-Earth asteroid that passes by. And we can mine the hell of that stuff. It'll be just as hard to survive in those locations because space wants to kill you, but at least you're a day or two away from help or reshipments or anything like that can make colonizing and resource extraction that much easier. Just trying to go to Mars, I'm going to go to Mars. It's just the dumbest, stupidest waste of money. There's $500 quintillion worth of helium-3 on the moon. 500 quintillion in an asteroid belt. There's enough iron in the asteroid belt to make every single solitary human being alive. At today's iron, I know it would cause deflation, but at today's prices of iron, worth $100 billion. That's how much iron alone is in the asteroid belt. An asteroid like Psyche 16 has what? $1 quintillion in just gold and platinum in it. So if you're going to waste a bunch of money to go colonize something, why are you colonizing like the one rock that has no resources whatsoever and you have no return of investment on? You're going to spend $1 trillion on just like a giant live stream snuff film for whoever lands on Mars. You're floating through space for 6 to 8 months. Your bones are essentially dissolving. You're losing calcium for your bones at a rate of 5% a month. So by the time you land, you have half the calcium in your body when you enter a gravitational environment. You're in 0G that entire way, and while you're floating, your spinal fluid is going up into your brain and flattening the lenses of your eyes. So by the time you land on Mars, you're blind. You've got weird heart issues, muscle atrophying. By the time you land, you've got no support team there to greet you, right? Because you're the first one to land. When you spend 6 months or a year or even a week up in the space station, when you land, they put your ass in a wheelchair and they take you to a room full of doctors and physical therapists to get you like used to, get past your sea legs and get you make sure your heart's okay and everything else. You're gonna land on Mars, step off, and you're gonna snap a hip, and that's gonna be it. There's going to be no one to help you. You're going to die an anguishing death. Or you're going to get poisoned perchlorate in the soil, which will just destroy your thyroid. And are bombarded with galactic cosmic rays for 6 months. And you land on Mars and get even more of them. And you're going to have weird cancers. And there's going to be no one that can help you. It's bad enough if you are a winter station in Antarctica. And a few years ago, I remember there's a lady that had breast cancer. She had a really bad diagnosis of breast cancer. She was stuck in the winter in Antarctica at the South Pole, and they couldn't get her out. Like, you might die before we can get a plane there to get you out. Now imagine something similar on Mars. You've got no surgical tools. You've got no medical facilities. None of this stuff. You have to bring all your own water. You have to bring all your own food because you can't grow anything in the soil because the soil will kill you. What then? You're just like, oh, well, I guess we just could watch this person wither away and die on this live feed we've got going on in their habitat. A guy on Twitter today was like, well, there's water everywhere on Mars. Well, there's ice at the poles, and there's some permafrost. And he's like, well, we can just heat up the soil and get the water out. I'm like, cool. How? right? It's minus 140 degrees. You're going to drill a little hole and then warm up the soil and water's going to come out. You're going to warm up 2 inches to a side. You're going to waste friggin' half your energy resources to get a teaspoon of water. Now what? So you need drilling rigs, or you need to bring a komatsu to come and like dig trenches for you. Flamethrower the soil. Like, how are you going to warm up the soil to get the water out? You're not. It's not going to happen. You're just going to go to Mars and you're going to die. And that's what Elon's going to do. And everyone's going to go, woohoo! And then they're going to see what a horror shit show it is. And that's going to be that. So, there's an Elon rant for you. Rainer, Poland. You consider investing in tangibles post-MOAS. Tangibles how? Like commodities? Land? I'll probably look for a place to own of my own. So, yeah, probably have land or a house in there somewhere. Probably a driveway full of 80 shit boxes that will constantly break down, because that's my love life. But yeah, I'll probably look for a nice chunk of property, something with a barn. I don't know, fit a bunch of shit boxes in there. So yeah. We're saying the terraforming colony thing from aliens is fake. Oh my god, saying so. It is fake. So Mars has no magnetic field. The iron core of Mars froze billions of years ago, and without having a ball liquid flying around as it rotates, it generates no magnetic field. Without a magnetic field, any charged particles from outer space just blast through the atmosphere and hit the surface. The atmosphere, the thickness of the atmosphere on Mars is equivalent of about our atmosphere at 100,000 feet, and you have to wear a spacesuit at 100,000 feet. If you're a SR-71 or a U-2 pilot, you're wearing a pressurized spacesuit, which is literally the spacesuit they developed for the U-2 is the spacesuit that we use in our first spacewalks, as NASA used. So they're the same suit. And the Martian atmosphere is 97% carbon dioxide, which is the only reason why peak temperatures at the equator on Mars can actually get up into the 70s for a day or two a year. Granted, you'll still explode if you try to take off your suit in that. But you remove the CO2, you do terraforming, you remove the CO2, and so you just have O2. Well, you just took 1/3 of the atmosphere away. So now your equivalent of your atmosphere is basically being at the edge of space. And the CO2 is the only thing keeping anything moderately warm. So your daily highs at the equator would probably be 0 degrees. Every single night it would drop to minus 180 to minus 200. The poles would be freakishly cold, like minus 280 at the poles. So any hope of unlocking the water at the poles basically done at this point. There's just no way you'll be able to keep anything warm enough to unlock the water from the poles. Terraforming Mars is going to be freaking hard. And because of those galactic cosmic rays, any of the lighter elements that you might have, like O2 molecules, because O2 molecules weigh less than CO2 molecules, they get hit with a cosmic ray. It might energize them enough to bounce them out of the atmosphere. So you're making the atmosphere more and more thin as time goes on. Your one hope will be somehow to reignite the metallic core inside of Mars, but that's basically physically impossible to get volcanoes start pumping out atmosphere again. But yeah, we don't have the technology to do that, nor the money, nor the skills, nor anything else. So yeah, it's a waste. There's so much more money to be made. And if you want to colonize Mars, colonize the moon and asteroids first. Make a shitload of money. Have access to all the metals you could ever want. You can build gigantic spaceships out of asteroids themselves. You don't need to. That could be the manufacturing plans. We got this asteroid. Let's just build a spaceship out of it. We got all the metals right here. You can then have plenty of material to send to Mars at that point to do colonizing efforts, and people can go and die there all they want. But just to make the goal now, let's go colonize Mars now. Dumb. Okay. Elon rant over. Off. Okay. Where was I? I'm already an hour and 10 minutes behind. Did I just start this thing? I'm an hour and 10 minutes behind already. Okay. Paraterran, above 151, bud. Critical margin theory says 158 is untested breakout of the Dorito of Doom. 158. We got to, where were we today? We got to 150. 151 is where we closed, but we got all the way up to 156.17 at one point today. That's real close. We bounced hard off of 146 and then right back up again. Maybe, I do have my put, but maybe some calls in the morning as well, just to even that sucker out. Because I think Friday it's going to fly. The price is going to reduce. People are going to go, moo-ha-ha, and they're going to gobble up as many shares as they can. And I think we could fly on Friday. Pankaj Kumar, Houston, why do you think the institutions didn't recall GME loan shares last week? What could be the game plan? You got me, Pankaj. My guess is that they must have worked something out where they won't take cash as payment in lieu, but instead just increased the debt burden that the shorts have. That's probably my guess. First name, last name, Houston. If you could pick one hobby to enjoy for the rest of your life, no pay, what would be and why? I'm sure it's geology or teaching. Both? It'd probably be rock hounding. Just looking for stuff. Because it's solving a puzzle. It's like doing a bunch of research trying to figure out, where can I find this stuff that someone hasn't found before? And you plot and you go to maps and you read books and you do all that stuff and you figure out right there. I'm going to find it right there. And then that next summer you get in your truck and you drive and you go look for it and then, you find it. Or you might find something else or whatever. But then you get to be outside, you're camping, you're sitting around the campfire, chit-chatting with your buds. It's the happiest times of my life, I think, has been when I could bring friends along on an outdoor adventure and we're sitting around the campfire at night just shooting the shit. It is so much fun. It is like, it brings so much joy, those moments, that's basically like orgasmic for me. Just thinking about how much fun I had just shooting the shit with my friends. And, like diamond mining, we're in a pit of little cow shit, right? There's like 150 years of cow poop we have to dig through to get to the kimberlite where the diamond is. It's smelly, it's gross, you hit a pocket and it's just like farts. And hilarious at the same time. You wake up at 7 in the morning, you eat some breakfast, then go dig. Dig from like 8 until noon and stop and have some lunch, and then dig from like noon until 5, and then, go into town, take a shower at some campground, hit the Potbelly, get some burgers, go back to the campsite, sit around the campfire and just laugh our asses off until midnight, and then sleep really hard, do it again the next day. It's so much fun. Just hanging out with some folks, braining squirrels with a rock and eating them. It's just a great time. That's what I do. That'd be it. That'd be my dream life, and hopefully one of these production companies will make it happen, and you guys at least get to watch. As me and my friends have a great time sitting on campfires after smashing rocks all day. Okay. G-Fun. I have an update on my Bank of America thesis. Would you want to proofread it? I want to publish maybe this weekend. Yeah, send it to me, man. I'll take a look at it. Stephen Marr, Houston. Tell us about some cool inventions you've heard about. What recent inventions have I heard about? There's the replacement for the CMOS, the CCDs in cameras. The guy that invented the CCD made an even better one that gathers like 1,000 times the light on a fraction of the size of a of a chip that's going to replace everyone's cameras eventually. I forget what he's calling it though. What is it? Eric Fossum, he was a CMOS inventor. Where is the new one? Yeah. This is it. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm doing. So the guy invented the CMOS chip, made a new one a couple years ago. And... oh, go away. Quantum image sensor, QIS. Capability to increase low light sensitivity significantly. Applications for this will no doubt be there for security cameras, microscopic work, and of course photography. So basically, it's a new type of CCD, but completely reinvented. So, and I can imagine it taking over the chips for telescopes, especially since low light is exactly what you need. These things are pretty neat, and you can get like 1 billion pixels and something that's a fraction of the size. So I think it's the future. That one's pretty cool. What other one I read about recently? Monkey butt. You're my resources. You tell me. What are the cool ones? What's popped in my brain? I'm like looking around the room for inspiration again, and the new inventions are in here. I think, to give Elon credit where credit is due, Starlink, the giant mesh system that is Starlink. There's another one that's going up by SoftBank out of Japan, and then Amazon / Blue Origin is going to be launching one. Essentially, it's going to get rid of cell phone towers. We will never have to worry about a cell phone tower again. Because you'll get signal anywhere on Earth, so long as you aren't like exactly at the North Pole or South Pole, because it's really hard to, but you probably will get signal there still, because they'll put some polar orbit ones, just put them in a big chain. But being able to have signal anywhere on Earth, lightning quick internet anywhere on Earth, whether you're in the middle of the Pacific, middle of Sahara, middle of a big city, be able to get that stuff, is going to be revolutionary. And it's going to murder existing cell phone companies. Like, I don't know, if the antennas get better on smaller devices so that you don't have to like carry around like a Starlink satellite antenna system, then Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, those guys are dead if they don't jump on board with this as service providers. There'll be no point in having that stock anymore because no one will be their customer. Because, say $35 a month, they can drop you off on a desert island in the middle of the South Pacific, and you can, play your video games all day long, and text people and order your Grubhub. That's probably one of them. Yeah. Okay. Michael McMinician. Howdy, Houston. I bought one share today of GME to see if the split dividend is given to me on the 22nd. That's a good experiment. See if they're actually true that buying today will actually end up with the shares free tomorrow. Brandon T. Good afternoon, Houston. What is the most mentally painful interaction you've ever had with a flat earther? Be that Daniel dude on Twitter. It is brutal. Oh my gosh. Like, originally I thought he was trolling me, but really I think he's just that dumb. Every once in a while he'll tag me on Twitter. You might be watching this right now. Daniel, if you're watching right now, buddy, I don't know if you ate a bunch of paint chips when you were a kid, but seriously, Dunning-Kruger ain't got nothing on you. So he was tweeting about how the moon and the sun have to be the same size because otherwise the moon could not block out the sun during a solar eclipse. And it was the most painful thing in the entire world. Like, he had no idea about foreground and background. And so, like, I showed him a picture of a toddler standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is a mile away. The toddler's right here, and the toddler's blocking the Eiffel Tower. I'm like, obviously, the Eiffel Tower and this toddler are the same size, since this toddler is able to block out the entire Eiffel Tower. So this toddler is 900 feet tall. I'm sorry, but forced perspective is something that I figured, like, maybe Monkey Butt might have a problem with, but not a grown human who somehow feeds themselves and ties their shoes. Yeah, that dude is pretty brutal. Pretty brutal indeed. And I haven't blocked him simply because my goal of death is basically face palming myself to death. Just eventually I'm going to face palm myself so hard that my hand's going to pass through the back of my head, and then it'll be just sweet oblivion after that. Javi A, tomorrow OPEX ends. Do you think GME will be shorted on Thursday? Might risk a put. Also, SPY went nuts today. My call was spot on, but sold a bit early. That's always happens. Do you think it will crash or keep running? It will eventually crash. They might try to get it to 400 and then crash it from there. I will probably pick up, since puts got real cheap, I might pick up a couple more GME puts just to see if it crashes hard on Thursday. So here's what I'm thinking. If I can get some puts to pay off Thursday, I'll use that cash and, like, right before close, buy as many close to, like, just out of the money calls as I can, like at 12:55 or 3:55 p.m. for East Coaster, just before the markets close. Just get as many just out of the market, just out of the money calls as I can, because I think Friday's going to explode. And the thing is that, you know, you got your contract. Let's say the stock price is 140, right? Or no, let me make it 160. Math is easier. 160. The price is 160 share at close on Thursday. That means Friday opens at 40. But your contract for 100 shares because of a contract for 400 shares at 40. Which means, you know, if the stock price goes up $1 with a traditional contract, you make $100 basically, you know, more or less. For every dollar the contract goes up, you are $100 up, right? But now you're $400 up per contract. So if you could pick up, I don't know, 50 just out of the money contracts Thursday right before close that will expire Friday. So you're risking it all, because if it doesn't go in the money Friday, you're screwed. But you can basically 4x every single one of those things. And think about just out of the money, right? So if you get a contract for 161 and the price is at 160 on Thursday. So you get a contract for 161. It's out of the money. Theta decay is just tank the thing. So it might be 60 bucks for that contract, right? And that means the next morning you've got 400 shares in that contract at $40.25. Once you overcome that 25 cents, it's on like Donkey Kong, baby. So maybe you can pick up 30 or 40 of these contracts. You can get yourself, I don't know, let's see here, if it's 30, it'd be 12,000 shares. So you have 12,000 shares in there. The stock price goes up $4. You just made 48 grand in like 6 hours. I'm okay with that. I'm thinking about YOLO. Whatever money I make off of these puts, I'm going to YOLO into as many contracts as I can that expire on Friday and do it Thursday just before close, just to see what happens. If I lose that money, then I lost that money. But if it works, then you're multiplying everything by 4x. Yeah. So, I'm going to try it. All right. Richard White gave me some coordinates. I said months ago about a drunk friend of the family who swears he found gold in the Ledard River nearby. Well, let's see where we're going. We are going, looks like Where are we? Great Britain? Where you go? Where they go? Earth. Go there. Turn on the Earth. Clickety clack. Bam. We are in Scotland. Where are we? Yeah. So we are. We're in the north. We're in Scotland. You can find gold here. You can find lots of gold here. I watched a great video of these Scottish guys doing sniping. So sniping is when you go like along a river to one of those high flow areas. If there's cracks in the rock, gold will fall into those cracks. That's a low pressure zone, and you'll find lots of nuggets. So you go with like long screwdrivers, and you float along a river, and you look for these cracks, and you dig the screwdrivers in there trying to pluck out anything that's in there. And the dudes were getting a lot of gold sniping those cracks up in Scotland. I'm not sure exactly where they were, but I believe that there's plenty of gold up here, because there's tons of fault zones. I mean, the entire lock system in Scotland. We got Loch Ness. This is all huge faults that are striking against each other, and so the entire island is trying to split itself in half, basically shear itself in half. And that when you get stuff like that, that means you got other fault zones, hot springs. Hot springs mean gold. Yeah, I can believe that you get gold out here. I would believe that. Just looking at these hills, yeah. Lots of locks. I believe Richard. I believe your friend. Oh, and then G-Font's got a spot for me. I might as well get this one out of the way since we just had that up. Alright, back. G-Font, where are you sending me? Somewhere in Canada? Sending me to Shawang. Or was that Calgary? Edmonton? We're at a bridge. We are at a bridge with a circle. There's a giant hula hoop. What are we doing right here? That is a giant hula hoop. Get a really big line to jump through that one. Well, what the point of that is. What city am I in? Am I in Calgary? I am in Calgary. Okay. There you go. There's one of your art projects. To beautify the modern highways. Just a big circle. All right. Corey Jones, Houston forgot to ask if you ever watched Jalen's Garage. He just did a really good episode on the new Earth Roamer LTI. Pretty sweet. I've never seen Jalen's Garage. What channel is it on? I'd watch that. Earth Roamers are just bitching. Way out of my price range. A couple years ago, you get an Earth Roamer for like 250 grand. Now the same Earth Roamer is like 750 grand. The economics of affluence, baby. The more expensive you make it, the more rich people will buy it. I saw a used one for sale a few years ago. It was a U.S. Marshals seizure, and it sold for $60K. I wish I had $60K. Only had like 5,000 miles on it. Basically brand new. Oh well. Soon I'll have $60K, and so when it pops up from the U.S. Marshals, I can then buy an Earth Roamer for cheap. Lenny G. Clinton, Houston. Hope all is well. Going pretty well. Can you please explain FTDs? What are they in regards to GameStop? They matter, but they don't matter. If you could do your best to illuminate the subject, well, thanks. FTD is a failure to deliver, or failures to deliver. It is basically when someone sells you a stock and they don't deliver. So your broker sends money to the other brokerage that was selling the stock, and then that brokerage is supposed to send stock over and go, uh-oh, we don't have any stock to send you. This guy lied and he sold you something that doesn't exist. So the seller's brokerage then has to reach into the accounts of their members, pull out enough shares to then send over to your broker to make good on the clearing, because they're supposed to make good. Selling naked is supposed to be illegal, but they did it anyway and they got away with it. So now there's a 35-day clock essentially that the seller must provide the shares for the broker, or the broker is forced by law to liquidate the seller until they have enough money to get the shares to replace all the fake ones that put all IOUs they put in their clients' accounts. That's how it's supposed to work. But the way it does work is that they put that fake share into those accounts. They do the T35 clock, and it's counting down to the day that the seller is screwed. But the seller goes, I found a loophole. I'm going to find somebody else who sold something that doesn't exist, and we're just going to trade our debts. We do a little debt swap. And when they do that debt swap, the ownership of that debt reassigns, right? I owe this, now I owe this. And the clock starts all over again. And so there's a giant game of hot potato of these IOUs that are just circling around the globe at all times as these guys generate more and more and more and more and more of this FTD debt. And as long as they can keep swapping the debt, passing the obligation along over and over and over again in this big giant game of like hot potato or musical chairs or whatever you want to call it, no one has to come due. Now, if there's a point where someone gets margin called in that group, one of the stocks they did a play on screamed too high, too fast, or the stock market took a dip on some big play they had, or bonds they had, or whatever. Dude, shush. And they disappeared from that circle of hot potato, and boom, they're gone all of a sudden. And this guy's expecting to do his debt swap with him, and all of a sudden can't. And like, uh-oh. And they scramble to try and find somebody else, but they already did their own debt swaps. Snoopy. Hey. No one's there. Nothing's happening. Of course, Monkey's like, what's going on? I want to go follow him. If one of those hedge funds just disappears, then that could be a chain reaction that stalls the swaps for everyone at the last minute. Dude, shut up. And that's kind of what we're hoping for. So that's basically, FTDs are IOUs that have a clock on them, and they're supposed to get paid back in 35 days, but there's loopholes that allow them to basically pass the IOU on to somebody else, and then it resets that clock, and it just goes over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Okay, and bat bones, or nobody wants to take the swap anymore. Exactly. They're like, I'm done, I'm out, no more swaps for me. Uh-oh. Okay. And there's the reset of the chat. That just eliminated like an hour of the the chat that I can't see anymore. So okay, moving on. We just skipped ahead a long ways. Okay. The end is nigh. Houston, how's your scheme to increase GME shares going? Have you sold your position yet? No, I have not sold. I probably won't sell, but if I do, it would be after close on the 21st. Because they're saying that you're going to get your shares after close. So if I sell after close before the price resets... So if those shares show up in my account after close on the 21st, I am selling everything. And I'll buy back in on Friday. Okay. Idaho Beef, welcome to a live one. JPEG 21 is public okay to be on during the squeeze. I have Fidelity and TD as well, but about half AMC shares are in public. I know nothing about public, but I'm sure they're insured like everybody else. I don't know what their business plan is. I know nothing about them, so I can't answer that for you, JPEG. Howler, Houston, have you been in love? I have. I think most people have. Yes. Right now? No, I'm not in love with anyone right now. William Lobach, Houston, recommendations for a decent gym in the garage on a budget. I do not recommend at-home gyms in any way, shape, or form, unless you want a really expensive coat rack. I cannot work out at home. In my brain, like, oh, I'll get the workout done. I'll do it tonight. And then tonight comes around, I'm like, oh, you know what? I didn't get it done tonight. I'll do it in the morning. And the morning comes around, and I'm like, you know what? I'll do it this evening. And before long, there's like boxes full of old shit sticking on them, and jackets and Halloween costumes and stuff dangling off the sides. I can't do the home gym. I just won't ever get it done. So I need like a physical location to go to where I like have to set aside the time. I'm gonna set aside these 2 hours. I'm gonna go exhaust myself and then go eat a giant meal, and that's my day. Otherwise, it doesn't get done. So no, I cannot recommend a good home gym for you because every home gym is just a glorified coat rack. Zach Trenton. Thanks for all you do. Let me know if you want to go fishing in the Keys. I would love to go fishing in the Keys. That sounds awesome. Heck yeah. Let's go fishing in the Keys. Look at the size of that book. It's a big book. It's a big book. All right, Mario's got something in the west for us. I love going... Where are you sending me? We're going to... somewhere on a river? On a bridge? Across the river? Oh. A bridge that did not get... I love it when Google does the droopy bridges. Rio Grande Gorge. So it's Taos, New Mexico. It's a beautiful spot in Mexico, going across a big old canyon. Wonder if we can get a good spot on that bridge. There we go. Yeah. There's our spot. Beautiful bridge across a beautiful canyon. Those folks are about to go bungee jumping right there. I love me a good bridge across a canyon. Those are the best bridges there are. That's a good spot. Go visit that in New Mexico. Go do that. Mario Valdez, a lot of Earthships up in Taos too. Earthships are so weird. My dad's first wife, so the mother of my three oldest siblings, she lives in Prescott, Arizona. And when I was like in 8th grade, I went down there, was visiting everyone, and we went to an Earthship called Elefante, which was the stone house built in the shape of an elephant. It was like, this is the weirdest fucking place I've ever been. And there's some hippie, like, hand stacking rocks and putting mortar between them all. And yeah, it was a big giant elephant kind of like laying down on the ground. The kitchen, I believe, was like the head. So like the eyeballs were these big weird, I don't know, Coke bottle windows and stuff. It was cool. It's like literally physically and aesthetically, like much cooler than the surrounding land for being on the desert. I dug it. I don't think I'd live there myself, but a little too hippie for me. But yeah, I dug it. Sure, you're joking, Mr. Feynman is a great read too. I do recommend that one also. That's a good one. Yes. Okay. Tony Mahoney, have you heard of Brian Cox, an English guy, used to be a rock star? Isn't Brian Cox an actor? Isn't he the guy like Succession and Super Troopers? Isn't that Brian Cox? Dick McDick, I thought the dividend was the kill shot. Could someone help me out? It is, but it takes time because you got all those FDDs and defaults that have to like get squared. And for other similar situations, it's taken about 3 months for the crackdown to happen for those guys. SS Minnow Johnson, meanwhile, Tesla offers the safest passenger vehicles in the world. Someone's just the capital J. I mean, the McLaren F1 from 1996 had a higher NTSB safety rating than the current Tesla. So, I mean, that's 1996 technology. Also, I don't know if you guys read the articles on Tesla and the autopilot. If you're in autopilot, an autopilot senses about to collide with something, it turns off the autopilot like a nanosecond before the collision, so they can then blame the accident on the driver and not the autopilot. That's pretty shitty. Yeah. All right. Ace Ventura, I did okay with a meager $500 million loan from my dad. I'm like, y'all. It's like Mitt Romney talking about how he took a small $1 million loan from his father to start his first fund. It was just a small loan from my dad, like anyone else would take from their father. Like, oh, yeah. Or, you know, those articles are like, how this young couple was able to afford their first home. And you go to the article and it's like, well, first we lived in my grandmother's vacation home rent-free for 3 years. And then my father gave us $500,000 to make our down payment on our first home. It's like, yeah, it's how everybody seems to be buying their homes these days. That's definitely the normal way to buy a home, is to have your wealthy, hedge fund dad to give you $500,000 for a down payment on your first house. That's how you afforded that home. Good job. Okay. Okay. All right. Just another watch nerd. He used to tell a story about how he went to a jeweler's in New York City with some emeralds his dad had given him. For context, no one had the means in 1980 South Africa, New York City. Yeah. His dad told lots of stories also about like just how much cash they had and they couldn't even close the safe doors. Like, who else had access to computers in South Africa in the 1980s? During apartheid, rich people. Okay. All right, Queen of Swords. Same as you can buy GME till close on 21st. Whoever you bought them from will IOU the divvy, and their shares will be taken. So, again, if you buy up until close, right, they can get your dividend shares. But if you sell after close, and the price hasn't reset, because the reset is Friday morning, what then? And if you get the shares in your account after close, but before after hours trading is finished, what then? Maybe I'll try with at least one share and see what happens. I don't know. Scott Poland, Houston, what if Tesla started racing an electric F1? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with everybody racing. I want every car company to be entering into races. I want to see every model of car tricked out beyond belief, racing in every category possible, and all sorts of weird special F1 cars, Le Mans cars, one-off designs, weird test things. I want them all to constantly be innovating and racing. That's what I want. This is Houston's wheelhouse. Yeah, basically, just chilling. If you go to Mars, you are on a suicide trip. That's basically it. Because it's gonna be a $1 trillion investment to get any meaningful trip there over time. Plus, the ability to stay for any period of time is going to cost a boatload of resources to do it. That means if anything goes wrong, you're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars just to mount a rescue. That ain't happening. Your life is not worth hundreds of billions of dollars. They're going to let you die out there, and they'll make a statue to you and be like, this was, just chilling. He was the first man to die on Mars. Oh, well. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Plus, you have to think, like, what does watching the death of somebody on a planet hundreds of millions of miles away, what does that do to the public perception towards space travel? Like, if we could have spent that money on developing resources in space that would allow us to basically eliminate greenhouse gases, create abundant energy for everybody on the planet, and kill off the need to like destroy entire mountain ranges and ecosystems to mine for stuff. But instead we spent that money to go watch someone die on Mars. Is that money later going to be invested into like accomplishing these goals in space? Or are people going to go, I don't feel comfortable like spending money on killing folks? I think it'd be a terrible PR move. It'd be a great PR move one day when we land, and then after that, bad PR. JPEG21, how can NASA send rovers to Mars, but we can't get any pictures of our planet on its way there? How come very Earth on Google Images are different from each other? Not a flat earther question, the Gov. We have pictures of Earth from Mars. We got lots of them. I can pull one up right now. Ding, boink. So, this is from the Cassini space probe. This is Saturn. That's Earth right there. Bam. We got pictures of Earth from all over the space. This is Saturn. Here is Earth from the Martian surface right there. Here's another one at night. There's another dot right there. That's Earth. Here is a zoomed in image of Earth and Moon from Mars. We have them. All I have to do is search for it. We have plenty of them. Those are our paintings right there. But yeah, they're out there. We got them. So don't worry. Your concerns are invalid. Squamps, using sci-fi style medicine and tech, how would you survive in space? Okay. Key things you need to survive in space. 1, you need to be able to recycle your atmosphere abundantly and safely without losing anything out seams, like no cracks, whatever. Otherwise, you're gonna die. So we do have systems that can easily recycle air and pass that stuff through machines, and we can do that. Number 2 is shielding. We have to be able to shield ourselves from galactic cosmic rays and energized particles, and we aren't very good at that yet. When Mark, oh my God, the twins. One of them went up the space station for a year. Now is a U.S. Senator. Mark, crap. My brain. Mark Kelly. I have to look it up. Okay, Mark and Scott Kelly. So, was it Scott that went up there for a year, or Scott? Yeah, so Scott Kelly's went up there for a year. Mark Kelly didn't. And so up in the space station, the Earth still blocks basically half of the galactic cosmic rays. The Earth's a big buffer for half those things. But then everything else hits you from the other side. And Scott Kelly got so much radiation, the equivalent of about 10 chest X-rays per day, every day for a year. That's the equivalent of how much radiation he got while he was up there. That when he got back to Earth, there was so much damage done to his genome that with his twin brother Mark, they had the exact same genetic code, he was completely different. He is a different person now who is genetically not similar to his brother in any way, shape, or form. That's how much radiation he got for a year in space. Now imagine you are on a ship without the Earth blocking half the way, half of the galactic cosmic rays. You're getting galactic cosmic rays from everywhere. You now have 20 chest X-rays a day of radiation bombarding your body, which means you're going to get cancers at twice or more the rate you would just being up at the International Space Station for long periods of time. So you need to have adequate shielding. And there's been some advancements in some tech to do that. There's these crazy beryllium pill, like nanotubes, woven nanotubes. You can make like suits out of it. They'll block a lot of the stuff. Another good way to do it is to basically fill the whole of the ship with water. So your water source, recycled water, can be the shielding for your ship, but that's a lot of weight to carry that much water. But you know, if you want to be able to block a titanium atom flying the speed of light, because if a hit-sucker hits your DNA, it's shredding it and upping your chances of cancer. And you're going to want to create essentially centrifuges, rotating habitats, so you have 1g of gravity, or continuous acceleration at 9.8 meters per second squared, so that you have a 1g environment. You don't have spinal fluid flood your brain, you don't lose bone density, and you can work out more adequately, making sure you don't atrophy. Those are the big things to overcome. And building large habitats like that are going to take a boatload of resources. Because right now, even with the cheaper launches of what Blue Origin and SpaceX can do, you're still looking at about $10,000 per kilogram to get something into space, right? So a liter of water costs $10,000 to get that into space. That's a lot of money. So, hey, big dog, you're just a sweetie, aren't you? You're just a big dumb sweetie. So those are the big things to overcome, and which is why probably building ships out of near-Earth asteroids would be a great way to save money on resources, because you don't have to like lift that stuff out. It's already up there. Bang on. Awesome. That's probably one of the things we're looking forward to. Okay, did that answer your question, Squamps? I hope it does. SS Minnow Johnson, did Scott Kelly or Peggy Whitson go blind to snap their bones while in space over here? Scott Kelly went blind. He has like 2400 vision now. And he's got incredible problems with circulation. And again, he's genetically different from his brother now. And Peggy Whitson and Scott Kelly, both, when they got back from their missions, were put into wheelchairs and or hospital beds and forced into rehab for months before they're allowed to like walk on their own and be trusted around those things. Yeah, Scott Kelly had huge problems, huge physical problems he's still dealing with to this day after spending a year in space. So, yeah. There are no medical teams on Mars. There are no doctors. There are no physical therapists. There are no nurses. You're going to get there, and you're going to be blind and atrophied and unable to do a lot of things you were able to do before. Owen Saunders, hi, pal. Are you changing your exit price now that we're getting a dividend? Previously, sales started at 100K. However, are you now starting at 10K, or for example? Much love from Wales. I mean, basically, if you want to start at 10K, then it's 7 shares to get to $100,000 using the step-up method, the ladder method. So you can start at 10K and still get there just easily. Now you got way more shares to play with. But I still think the odds of the price being absolutely stupid are there, simply because this share dividend has basically created 3 to 4 billion synthetics, like IOUs, more IOUs out there that have to be covered, which puts the pressure on, which makes it 20x. So for every share, real share there is, there's 20 times that in fake shares. So I think it puts the leverage on the short hedge funds even more than it did before. All right, where are we? Just heat it. Clayton Bruin, Total Recall clearly displayed how it could be done. Alien technology, aliens. And the end is nigh. Do aliens exist, and will we find them? Oh, and Brian Collins says I missed my chat. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Let me get Brian Collins first because I did miss his chat. Brian Collins, Have been able to send your sandstone. My AC has been out since Saturday, and I live in Phoenix. Got up to 96 in my place before the portable was installed. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. That is brutal. That's gross. That is basically what my house was when we had our heat wave last summer. Except I think it was like 130 in here. I left and went to my mother's basement condo where the temperature never changes. But yeah, I appreciate it. I'd love to see that sandstone. I'd put it on the shelf with stones behind me, or the ones downstairs. A little wall of them downstairs too. Okay, and now back to... Sorry, I missed that one, Brian. Thank you. End is nigh. Do aliens exist, and will we find them? We talked about the Drake equation before, which is essentially like, how can we evolve an intelligent species, right, out of something? Here on Earth, the sun formed 4.55 billion years ago. The first life forms appeared as like single cell stuff 3 billion years ago. A billion and a half years ago, more intricate life, as more complicated, started to appear. A billion years ago, stuff started crawling around, insects and things on land, not trees, because trees didn't exist until later. Like ferns and other plants started to appear on the surface. 500 million years ago, really complex creatures were walking around, lizards and stuff like that. 250 million years ago, we had dinosaurs. The mammal revolution started after the dinosaurs died off 65 million years ago. It took, 4.55 billion years to get to the point where we could broadcast something into space. That being said, if other star systems are similar to our own, and the things you need to create life is a planet within the Goldilocks zone, it's not too hot and not too cold, a decent enough mass that it's got strong gravity that can hold an atmosphere, but not so weak that the atmosphere blows away, and not so strong that it crushes anything that tries to be on there. And that in order to get the evolution you need, you might need a moon to create tides, because the entire reason we exist is because our ancestors were in tidal zones that were exposed to water and exposed to air, and exposed to water and exposed to air. If you don't have tides, because you don't have a moon, you may never develop significant creatures that live on the land. There'd be no evolutionary driver for them to get out of the water because they're not in those like tidal zones, those estuaries. It's carbon-based life forms, all this stuff. You need a sun that's not too cold, a sun that's not too hot, a sun that can live long enough to allow that 4.5 billion year time for life to get complicated enough to crawl out of the ooze and start mailing letters and whatnot. Which means large suns are out. They're way too much radiation. They explode way too young. Little tiny stars can develop. That's those M-class stars, red stars, are where the Predator comes from. We talked about the Predator having to do everyday things in the past. So those can make life, but the habitable zone is really tiny, so the odds of a planet being in that zone is really small. But when you get to the point where you can broadcast your existence out into space and perhaps leave your own atmosphere, how long is it until you destroy yourselves with nuclear technology, with greenhouse gases, etc.? Like, it might be 200 years from when we broadcast our existence in space to when we've died because we killed off everything on our planet. Which leaves a really small window for two creatures to exist at the same time, sharing communication. And with the Drake equation, with current numbers, finding stars that are right size, that are single star systems, that have planets with moons, now you're looking at maybe 1% of star systems have such a thing in the entire galaxy. Now, they're all different ages. So, of those 1% of stars, let's say 75% of them are too old, and 20% of them are too young. So it might be 0.05% of stars exist in that window right now where we are, that we can broadcast at the same time. But there's huge distances around the galaxy. We're 150,000 light years across. So we would have to have one within 100 light years from us, which means they could receive our signal and send it back before we go extinct. And the odds of that are basically, it's like one society in 10,000 years can exist at the same time in the same galaxy at our technology level with the current variables we have for the Drake equation. So if there are aliens out there and they manage to last beyond like the destroy themselves phase, they are so far advanced from us that they want nothing. They'll watch us like zoo animals, but they don't want to deal with us. We are violent and angry and like to kill things we don't understand. So if anything, I think they're watching, but they're not going to be like, "Hello, we're aliens," because they know we're gonna be like, "Fucking kill it." That's what we do. So, yeah, look up the Drake equation. It's a great thought experiment. Okay. Coffee, Donuts, and Homer bullish GME Morningstar article. They value GameStop at $221, which would put us at close to $60 post squeeze. 50 somewhere around there. $50.50. There's $55 somewhere around there. Bones, you should write a realistic Mars horror movie with all that scientific info. That would actually be pretty good. Just call it snuff film. And just sort of see what everyone's reaction would be. I like that, Bones. Maybe. I like it. Start off like really like, oh, gung-ho, we're going to accomplish this thing. And then just sadness and death and horror at the end. Okay. No. Okay. A1 Karster, there's no global warming on Mars even though it's closer to the sun. We got it. No. Mars is further from the sun. Mars is a lot further from the sun. And there is global warming on Mars. It just happened billions of years ago. It's the only reason it has somewhat not deep space cold temperatures because of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Molly McWoolhead, can't you jumpstart Mars' core with a nuke like that one movie? They have the core. Ugh. That movie's so bad, it's great. Okay. Gravity is a theory. Google it. In science, a theory is like as high as it gets. There's theory, law, hypothesis. Basically, you take the laws and you develop a theory out of it. And theory is the culmination of experiments proving, the laws that exist. So like a law of gravity is that a rock on the Earth's surface will fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. That's the law of gravity. The theory of gravity is that mass is attracted to itself. That's the theory, and that's what exists. So whenever someone says it's just a theory, then they don't understand exactly what what it means in a scientific context. We can talk about theorizing, essentially coming up with ideas that as to why these things are, but for it to actually be scientific theory, it has to be backed by repeatable scientific evidence that again. So like, I throw this baseball up in the air 1,000 million billion times. There is not a chance that one of the times I throw it up at the same velocity that all of a sudden it just takes off and flies off in outer space, disproving the theory of gravity that mass is always attracted to mass. It will do the same path every single time I throw it, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, because the law of gravity means that this ball is attracted to the center of mass center of the earth. And this dog is now really fascinated with that baseball. No, you can't destroy that baseball. That's my desk baseball. It's not for you to eat. Sorry, bud. Hey, man, your breath is so warm. So, yeah. Theory is big time. When someone says, theory of relativity, theory of gravity, theory of evolution, they're talking about, like, the peak of scientific work. Okay. Big dog, do not put your head on the keyboard. Don't you do it. He's methane gas from a Strouder starter. Okay. Alright. Big dog. Your face is so warm, and it's too warm in this room. Curtis Maximus, 5'10". My grandfather is turning 90 this week. What do you think life is like 50, 60 years from now? I think we got two options, essentially. And our paths can diverge depending upon whether we take action or whether we don't. And I'm leaning towards the we don't take action side more than the we do take action side, because we love our status quo and we'll ignore everything until it's too late. That's kind of our MO as human beings. On the plus side, if we take action, we capture a whole bunch of CO2 in the atmosphere, we plant forests and trees, and we got machines sucking CO2 out and sinking it somewhere, and reduce our carbon output, and so our planet, we have less extreme weather cycles, and we kind of even out. That would be good. Also, if we can get to the moon, we can mine helium-3, we can basically eliminate burning fossil fuels, period. We won't need them ever again. Our battery tech is going to be so advanced that we won't need to have to recharge every few hours or anything like that. We can just go for a long time on quick charges, and we're golden. If we don't do anything, and we're still burning natural gas, oil, coal, gasoline in cars, diesel, etc., and we keep pumping more and more CO2 in the atmosphere without sinking it, this planet will be unlivable probably in 50 to 60 years. We'll probably have giant calving of land-based ice into the ocean off of Greenland and Antarctica. Sea levels will rise to a point that are unmanageable and basically just dump tons of toxins into the ocean, killing off creatures. Carbonic acid formation in the oceans would basically wipe out zooplankton and shellfish. Either we fix our problems or life on Earth becomes unlivable in 50, 60 years. So when I'm 90, that might be it. So, good luck, everybody. I wish you the best. Doc Breezy, Houston, what do you think about Nano X imaging? I don't know Nano X imaging. Advanced Medical Systems imaging. Other company that does like MRI machines and stuff. 2/3 of the world. Alright. Looks like they're trying to make a low-cost MRI type machine. Huh. I'll look into them more. I know nothing about them. It looks like they want a really cheap kind of CAT scan type machine. Or X-ray or something. No, I'll check them out. I don't know anything about them. You've just informed me. I've just learned something. I'll look them up. Okay. I jumped forward an hour, now I'm like an hour behind the chat again. Boring most days. Saw you went to the Black Rock Desert. Ever been to the Burn? 2009, 2010 were awesome. I've never been to Burning Man. That's usually, most years, that's usually around the time that I'm trying to get like my last good push of mining over before school starts. And so I've never been to Burning Man. I have friends that go, and they all describe it as disgusting, and they hate it, and then they go again. Or they go and they do so many drugs, like, it's the best time of my entire life. It was awesome. Yeah. Bones, I'm surprised you mentioned the downside of Starlink being an astronomer. Yeah, Elon not painting those things black was absolutely just evil. Like, having a stream of really brightly colored objects just fly across your image while you're trying to take pictures of deep space. It's just mean. And he wanted everyone to see him and did not care at all about what astronomers thought about it. No, if you're going to send stuff to space, you make it black so that it doesn't reflect back too much and ruin our astrophotography. William Morgan wants cheerleaders behind me. I would be great with having some cheerleaders behind me. That'd be fantastic. Cheering me on. William Morgan says Kathy Wood forced to shut down her first ever ETF. Oops. Kathy Wood has not been batting too high on average recently. She, I think, is past her prime right now. Kevin Hilaire, would you debate Flat Earth on Nathan Oakley's show? I have no idea who Nathan Oakley is. But, sure. Sad Boy Incorporated. Thoughts on Martin Shkreli going long on LQDA on Wall Street Bets? Thoughts on Martin? He seems like he would be cool if he lifted weights, but happy. I think Martin is a complete sociopath and not to be trusted ever in any way, shape, or form. That all he does is scheme and try to pull a fast one on anybody. That's his entire goal in life. LQDA. Liquidia Corporation. I have no idea what they are, but the price skyrocketed today. Went from $3.79 all the way up to after hours had a peak of $5.46. So they added what, 60% on there? 45%. So it's a patent victory in dispute with United Therapeutics. So that's what they had. So apparently they won some sort of patent dispute and the price flew. I have no idea what they make. So it showed some patent was unpatentable for some sort of drug for pulmonary arterial hypertension. All right. So LQDA gets control of the patent, and there you go. All right. So that's seems like a bet if that drug's going to sell. But Martin Shkreli is, as a person, no. I do not think he's a good person. I think he's a bad person. I think he's a manipulator and complete sociopath. Zayden Castilleja. Hi, Zayden. Popping in lots of highs there, buddy. I only do it once. I mean, you keep going, but then I'm going to mute you if you keep going like that. So chill out there, Zayden. Oh, all right, Zayden. You get to go to the chill out zone. There you go. All right. Zayden is in a timeout. Okay. Anoop Mohan Kumar. Houston, did you see the video of multiple random fires all over UK today? We are literally roasting, man. Yeah, the UK is real hot right now. You guys are over 100. You're not made for it. You don't have air conditioning. Your plants aren't designed to dry out this much. All of Europe's on fire. I mean, Portugal and Spain are burning. Southern France is burning. It hit 45 and 50 C in places. Folks are dying all over from heat exhaustion. You guys are in wet bulb territory, which basically means heat and humidity are so high that without interference from air conditioning, you never actually cool off, and it basically cooks your brain and cooks your organs. You need to find a cool place wherever you are and survive. Go underground, sit in a pool of water, something. It is cooking. How many more days of this heat wave do you guys have? So it's 103 in London right now. Get a couple of rain showers on Wednesday. So it's gonna cool off. It's gonna cool off tomorrow. All right, so this is the last day of it, and then it's gonna be 80s and 70s. So you guys are gonna cool off finally. That's good. That's good. But 103 is brutal. 70% humidity. It's pretty rough. So all right. Oh, and Tour de France has been 100 plus for a few days of racing. That is just like inhumane. I mean, you're expected to bike 100 miles at peak performance, and you can't ever cool off. Like, you just have to like have a mister on you or something. It's brutal, brutal. Further state productions with the DTCC littered with hedgies and market makers. How do we know they will do their jobs and send out margin calls? It may not be them sending out the margin calls. It may be prime brokers have to do it. Or lending institutions that will be doing those margin calls. So the DTCC might not necessarily be the ones behind it, because not everybody's a member of the DTCC. Like JP Morgan left. They're their own. Fidelity is their own. Those guys can send out margins separate from the DTCC because they lend to folks who are members of the DTCC. So they may be the ones to do it. Okay. All right. John B, is there a chemical that can extinguish a thermal runaway battery fire? Seems to be the only risk that EVs have right now. Maybe a dry chemical fire extinguisher could be developed. That's the problem, is that lithium is an alkaloid, and alkaloids love to react with everything. So, as long as oxygen can still get in the system, they can burn. They can burn underwater because they can burn the oxygen off of water. So dousing them with water doesn't help. It just adds to it. Maybe some sort of oxygen-free foam that can smother the fire might work. Kind of like, think Demolition Man, you know, the crash accident he gets in, just completely just encased in foam inside the car. Maybe something like that. But again, like the newer battery tech, this supercapacitors, these solid-state batteries, they don't have the fire problems because they're just made of aluminum and carbon, which, you know, are not going to violently react with oxygen. So you don't have to worry about that. I think that might be a solution. Gotta scroll past some chit chats and conversations here. We got. Oh, I only got a few minutes left, and I got to walk the dogs and then go get yoked for the day. It's gonna be a long one at the gym today. It's an everything day, so I'm gonna be there until basically I'm exhausted. Yogi, for an inexpensive gym, just get some kettlebells. That's also, yeah, there's some heavy things to pick up, put down. All you do is pick things up, put them down, have resistance. Rubber bands, you know. Put children on your legs and walk around with the children on your legs. That's always great exercise. What was that old saying? If every day a boy picked up a calf, soon he'll be a man who can pick up a cow. Was that the old saying? So, there you go. Bex, happy birthday, Houston. Has there been a photo that has really blown your mind or stands out for James Webb yet? What would you find the most exciting thing to see? So far, no. We've seen really cool, clear pictures of new regions of space, as well as like deep infrared of like pillars of creation and stuff, which is showing us gas clouds in a way we haven't seen before. But I still want exoplanets. That's what I want to see. I want to see them be able to do a spectra on an exoplanet and tell me what the atmosphere is made of. That's what I'm waiting for. I want to see a sun and a whole bunch of little planets. Give it to me. Please. That's what I want. Scott Paul in Houston, do you know anybody at Colorado School of Mines? I knew one guy who was there 20 years ago, and he is there, I think, as a oil fields engineer, if I remember correctly. He's kind of an asshole, though. But I don't know anybody there now. Jagjit Singh, can we use carbon dioxide for plants on Mars and create oxygen that will allow humans to live there? Only in contained environments in greenhouses, because the more carbon dioxide you suck out of the atmosphere, the colder it gets, and the less likely a plant is going to survive. Basically, they just get covered in frost and then never grow anywhere. The key is to thicken the atmosphere. And the way to thicken the atmosphere without volcanics taking place is we would have to somehow capture asteroids and comets and bombard the surface and heat the surface up so much they basically turn Mars back into a ball of goo and get the volcanoes pumping again, and then we make a nice thick atmosphere, and hopefully that'll last for a few 100 million years before everything shuts off again. But I don't think we've got the time to bombard the planet with like 300 million comets and then wait for things to cool down so that we can settle the surface, because that'll be a few 100 million years. So no. Growing plants, theoretically, would work if the planet was warmer. It's just too cold. Cup in these nuts. Just chilling. Do you think the biblical flood happened? No. I think what happened was this Bosphorus broke open, and what was a giant desert or maybe inland lake got flooded heavily by the Mediterranean. That's probably what happened. But Seattle, every winter it rains for 40 days straight in Seattle, and we don't fill up. So I think that there may have been a nasty flood, and because their world was so small, they assumed the entire planet was flooded with stuff. But no, there's no way that it would rain so much that the water level will go up thousands of feet and cover mountains. There just isn't that much water in existence. So I don't think that's possible. Okay. All right. We're at 3:30. I got to go Walk the dogs. That's right. You heard your name. You're a dog. You are. And then go to the gym. So yeah. Doc Breezy Houston, what do you think of Beto running for Texas and odds versus Abbott? Right now, I think the poor response on the Uvalde shooting in Texas might be a game changer there, combined with the anti-abortion stuff. That it may push enough women voters, especially, over to the blue side that Beto actually has a chance of winning statewide office. It's going to be close, but Abbott has just done such a shitty job that I don't think. I think this is Abbott's worst chance at winning right now. Anyway, on that note, we're gonna go for the day. I'm gonna do a show probably tomorrow night, Wednesday night show. I've got a production company meeting tomorrow during this time, so I won't be able to do a show in the afternoon. But wait, Steve Remy, Houston is a grifter. Stop giving this clown money. Why are your comments turned off? I didn't turn any comments off there, Steve Remy, but you can go away. Bing. Bye, Steve Remy. Yeah. Anyway, I'm out. I'll see you guys tomorrow night sometime for late night. So you Australians and you Europeans will probably enjoy that. The rest of you Americans will be like, why is he up so late? What an asshole. But anyway, one of these. Clink.